Well, hello everyone. Super happy to see you and to see new faces as well. This is the last one in our webinar series that is part of the Erasmus project, New European Bauhaus meets Community Economies. And the project has come about between La Foresta Community Academy in Italy and Traina in Slovenia because we see ourselves as new European Bauhaus practitioners, and we're really interested in figuring out what practices are we sustaining the work we do. So how do we sustain our own livelihoods, but also with what economies and strategies, processes do we sustain the project we're doing, the practices we are running. And for us, it has been really a super interesting year on the project because it feels like with the work we do, we have, we kind of help a new world and new modes of living to emerge. But it's, of course, also a struggle. Like nothing new is emerging just very easily and without issues. But we actually quite kind of need to be very inventive with how to sustain our practices in the long term. And so today is the last seminar where we share, let's say, where Traina shares their own strategies of how they negotiate their economies in relation with other actors in the creative industries. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Thanks, Bianca. Also, hello from my side. Uh, this is Gaia, and this tool was actually prepared in collaboration with Danica. We're currently based in Stockholm or Sweden. So, hello from there. And what we would like to speak today with you about is actually the kind of strategies, the feral strategies that you are employing that are enabling you to push your practices forward. For us, we think that the decision-making processes that we engage with are very much like creative actions that kind of push and expand our territories and enable us, but not only us, but also others, to be able to produce the eco-social practices that we want to see more of and that we fight for. So yeah, but the reality is that in many cases and in many occasions we are exposed to conditions, to working settings, to kind of offers that are not in line with our value practices, or like we're struggling to understand how to respond to them and whether to say yes or to say no, or if we say yes, to what we are really contributing to. If you say no, like what are we really then kind of blocking ourselves from, and so on. So we have put this visualization together to kind of expand on this idea that we are a community of eco-social practitioners that are really interested in pushing ecological regeneration, community economies, I don't know, commons, regenerative material culture forwards, but then we are exposed actually to conditions where we have short deadlines, we have to compete with each other to be able to gain projects. In many cases, we are also exposed to political opponents that are blocking our projects to be moved forward, or we have low fees, and so on and so on. So how do we actually challenge these tensions, and how creative thinking can help us move forward? So maybe we can go to the next slide. Yeah, this is just an example I wanted to speak very shortly about from Krater. For example, a lot of, or some of the activities on Krater um, are dedicated towards ecological regeneration of the site. Krater is an 18,000 square meter rewilded construction site. It's like a spontaneous nature forest. And what we want to do partially on the site is also to engage with the ecology of the site. And obviously, like when you want to engage with the ecology, that means that you're entering into a completely different time frame that forces you to think in other other ways, then, for example, the projects that the short-term projects that you are exposed to. So, for example, ecological regeneration actually wants you to think into 20 or 30-year time, but you can deal only with 2 to 3 year projects. And then, for example, you would like to work on we would like to work on ecological regeneration, but we're exposed to temporary contracts with the Ministry of Justice. So how can we plan? Or we are exposed to private land and land grabbing and endless administration that we need to do that prevents us to be on the side and with the ground more. So these are the tensions. And then what kind of helps us, I guess, to think forward. We find very interesting this concept around ethics of affirmation that was proposed by feminist post-humanist thinker Rosi Braidotti. That kind of says, but it's really easy to be negative and to kind of just say no. Like, how can we even confront all of this? But actually, if we're negative, then we're just pushed, we're just giving our powers away, basically. Inspired by this idea or concept of ethics of affirmation, that is actually saying yes to the world does not entail passive acceptance, but rather the activation and transformative and critical thinking. And we think like, but what else are we doing as creatives if not being able to think outside of the box? So let's move forward. So now I would like to take you through the tool. This time the tool is a little bit more complex, so it will take a bit more time to explain and to run you through, but you will see once you use it, it's quite easy. Okay, so what you can see here is that at the beginning, we would like to ask you to think of a project that you would like to work with. So what is really important here is that you would choose a project that kind of challenges the status quo. So choose a project that was kind of a difficult project in a sense that it was really it was really confronting different values or value practices. So in this way, the tool works better. And then on the left side, we would ask you to define an agenda or vision, or what did you want to see in the project to be changed. And then on the right side, we would ask you to mark conditions. So what stands against you? And then further down, the offer, which would actually kind of mark what was the starting point for you? Like, was it a tender? Was it a commission? So what was the starting point of the project that was the given to you, to which you needed to respond? So these are like the three elements, the starting elements to be marked. And then the fourth really important element to be marked is also to understand and to mark down the point of reciprocity. So the point of reciprocity is actually a point it kind of shows you what kind of balance you were entering, or what kind of, let's say, what was the difference in power or of resources that you were, that you had as an opponent, that you had as a participant and the opponent had. So basically, what was the imbalance that was happening? Was the opponent on the other side far more resourceful than you were? Then you would just mark the point of reciprocity or the line of reciprocity more towards your side. So this is one thing. And then this situation with the yes on the left is kind of showing us that basically if we're just continuously saying yes to the offers that we're given, we're kind of maintaining also the status quo of our resources and not trying to expand and build on. So in a way, we're not enabling our situation. So maybe we move forward. But on the other hand, if we use creative thinking when we're pushing back, then this kind of enables us to expand our resources and to challenge the opponent, let's say. And here we would ask you then to kind of zigzag through the negotiation process that was happening to you. And then in the end, the idea is that you would reflect what kind of surplus did you create? So what kind of progress did you make? Or what kind of potentiality did you open up for yourself and for others by the end of the negotiation? So what's changed for you, basically? And here we ask you to think, obviously, beyond monetary benefits, also thinking that most probably the financial gains were not the only means of your kind of negotiation. So, and then in the end, here there is a small section that is kind of pointing you towards thinking how this surplus actually expanded your pool of resources. So here is the white arrow on the left that is showing that actually you most probably expanded your resources, and for the other round, for another project, you had a better negotiation position from the start. Okay, so this is like shortly how it works, and Danica will also later on take you through our example, so it will become more clear. And then what we have also prepared for you, and I guess you have all been given the PDFs that we've sent, and it's like an examples of feral actions that we used on Krater site that could help you just maybe get inspired or to think through the negotiation process. So for example, these actions we have named surprise, camouflage, enigma, hibernate, mobilize, camouflage, and just to name one, for example, let's say the hibernation. It's also an interesting one. We have used, for example, in the past year, we have in many times when we were asked to participate to exhibitions or in biennials or so on, we kind of decided not to engage with new work production, because in many cases the settings are not offering us a lot of money but are kind of asking us for a lot of attention. So we started to recycle Krater's creative outputs for exhibitions to reach out with smaller inputs and then be able to focus on other projects, to put more energies into other projects, basically. So we call this, for example, hibernate. We did not push like with full force to work in those settings, let's say, just as an example. And yes, I think here, Danica, I will just pass you the word to kind of introduce us to the Krater example and clarify.
Yeah, thank you, Gaia, for setting the ground for what we did in 2023. It was already, I lost track of time. It was really nice for us also to kind of reflect on the process that we had in the negotiation with Biennial in developing this tool. So we, as Gaia said at the beginning, we actually suggest that you choose one project that you were invited to participate. So there was some outside offer given to you. And then in that offer that was given to you, actually, it was not inscribed what you really think you need to do. So there is some kind of internal tension. And for us, it was this 35th Graphic Biennial in Ljubljana. It came in time that we were just rejected. We actually needed, we were kind of promised that we will exhibit in Venice that will present Slovenian Pavilion, and then we saw that as the continuation of our very precarious project that we did for a year ago, for a whole year. And we hoped that we could prolong the project with actually Venice Biennial, but at the end, it didn't happen. We were very disappointed that we didn't get a kind of support for amazing work that we did and resources to continue it. But then, like the invitation from 35th Graphic Biennial came, and we saw it as a platform to kind of represent our work and to engage with the exhibition. But it was also very nice because the main curator was Ibrahim Ahama, an artist from Ghana, who actually was not having this extractive approach, but he was really interested to see the practices that are acting on site, the autonomous practices, and he came with this long-term idea that the biennial should contribute to autonomous practices for continuation of their practice after the biennial. But somehow he was also operating within institution of the museum and the biennial, which had obviously its own limits. So this is where we are. We can go to the next slide, Sylvia. So our project is a commission for the 35th Graphic Biennial. And then the next step is actually what were the conditions that we stand against or that were given to us. Is that the Institutional Art Biennial offered actually nothing but just the short-term exposure. And then on the other side, our vision, which is extremely long-term, is actually staying with the Krater. So because the site has such a low visibility of a site of nature culture, it is presented in media and in general public very much as just a pending construction site and the site where state loses money from. So our general mission is to change the perception of it through using different institutions, using different opportunities that are coming from the outside. So then the third thing between these two forces, we need to define the kind of point of reciprocity, which is actually more of a line of reciprocity. This red line is going down, which divides these fields in two parts. So one part which is closer to us is the field shows how much resources we have entering this negotiation and how much the institution of the biennial had like the resources. It's just an abstraction, but to understand that already we are not getting into this as equal parts. And then the offer, which was coming toward us, was actually that they loved Krater and they wanted to engage it as we were offered like a production funds for building an infrastructure at Krater. And then I always ask, and how much money? Like, be exact. These don't just speak about offers. And I remember at the first meeting, they said, okay, some 10,000 for the production. And I was like, what about honorariums? It's collective, so it's many of us if you want to build something. They're like, yeah, honorariums are still unset. Sorry, there is some, I'll just close the window. Honorariums are unknown. So this was the first conversation with the biennial. And then why it's actually the feral action. The feral action is because it's something you are constantly pushing something that is not given in the context. So you are kind of inventing what's your answer and not just response. So feral action is not a response. It has this demand kind of inscribed in it, so that you are taking yourself seriously, at least as seriously as the other authorities taking yourself, the one which is on the opposing side. So we actually tell them that, okay, but you have money, so let's from the production, it's obvious. So let's make production budget to honorarium budget, because for our work at the site is our infrastructure. We don't need to build new infrastructure because Krater in itself, it's already an infrastructure. Nature is infrastructure of Krater. So we asked biennial actually to sustain our practice as it is and to recognize Krater as an artwork and our work as an artwork in art and culture. And then actually with this, this line from feral action 1 to response 1 goes deep into the resources of the biennial, because it was unexpected to them, and in some way it's intrusive, but it shows that we ask for their resources, to engage more of their resources than that what they were offering. And of course, their first response was, okay, production budget could not be shifted to honorariums, but we still want you to be part of the biennial. So maybe you can offer, what do you do at Krater at all? And then I think with also very much with the help of Community Economies background, Gaia actually said offered to all of us, so let's define the events that we would do at Krater, like what is this artwork? And we made a list of these events. And I remember we were also claiming why the price is defined as such. So we put a price to each event and we offered them back how much it would cost actually. So, but we also define the price. What do we need till that moment? How much knowledge, how much experience, how much skills actually to get this price. So when you compare this price was actually small, that we offered to them. And then I think it was at least 10 events or maybe even more that we sent to them. And then after some time, and again, we actually we asked for more of their resources. And their response was that they choose just 3 out of 10 events. And then they told us, okay, you will get paid for these events, but then also please do the objects in the exhibition. So engage in the exhibition too. And the honorarium for that would be 800 euros. And it's 10 of us at least engaged. So again, this was not acceptable to us. And then so they again interfere they went back to our resources. So then our third a demand, it was really long series of long conversations. I'm simplifying this. It lasted for half a year or even more. So we were like, okay, so you cannot pay us, but do show that our work exists and that it's larger than your capacity to pay. So list all artists, list us as sponsors of the biennial. So we would be equal sponsors on all PR materials, like Ljubljana municipality, for example. So this was one of our statements, and the other was that let's state Krater as the art venue and put it in all PR materials as the other large galleries that are actually participating, that are partners in the biennial. So let us gain the same recognition. And also from this, we thought, okay, maybe we just could get money for maintaining site as an art venue, because securities at the exhibition get paid just for being there and keeping an eye on exhibition. So we used that logic. And then actually it was some conflict, but then they approved Krater as an art venue, and they will be like, yes, you will be our partner. But you cannot be listed as sponsors, not all the artists, because all the other artists that are underpaid and all curators are underpaid. So you cannot be listed. And I was like, but then list them all. And it would be a better opportunity for you as an institution to show the Ministry of Culture that you actually don't have enough money to produce such biennial at that level of production. And then we were still not satisfied, obviously, with this when they approved Krater as art venue, and they said, okay, let's continue with your events at Krater. And then but they said that we cannot be sponsors. We were still not satisfied, but it seems that they reached the reciprocity line, because they were not with this searching more for our resources but we were still unsatisfied. So we asked for how about to reach other budgets. So let's open the budget for public events more. Let's open the budget for the catalog production, because Trajna produces not with paper, and we can sell the paper. Then this, as I said, the art venue guardians could be paid. Then if we can host opening events at Krater, we could also be paid for that. And we opened the possibility also to contribute the text. So from the text we would have, it seems like more work actually. So it's questionable, but it was not reciprocally that much work, like for what we asked them. So this line get back to them, and the response was, at that point, response was yes, actually. So we were quite happy to, and we got engaged more people from the museum in the conversations. So we have gained some supporters actually from the museum too. So their response was yes, but no contract. But we got like no contract from 2 weeks before the opening, and the contract was quite kind of troublesome. So I think that just before the opening, intensively, like for two weeks, Gaia was working with the lawyer to kind of make contract more bearable to us, and also the lingo of the contract, which was extremely bizarre. And
maybe
then,
just to add here, Danica,
yeah.
I was working with the lawyer basically because they would not allow us to speak about any
Yes, but this is
that we
Feral
had
Action 5. It's coming now. Sorry. So the thing was that we found this process so valuable that we wanted actually to exhibit it. So to show the other artists, because everything is so untransparent in this biennial functioning, we wanted to show other artists the way we like fight through this, and we wanted to publish the contract, and also the emails, the conversation that we had with them, and then within the contract. So we actually, our Feral Action 5 was to exhibit budget negotiation as art object. This is what we claimed. And like, it was really important to share this as a resource for other artists so that they could use it to claim reciprocity with institutions in the next exhibitions or whatever, whenever they're negotiating with art institution. But then again, their response was, no, that's a confidential information. And then we worked with lawyers, as I said, and Gaia said also. So, and lawyer told us, so it's a public institution, that it should allow public access to all of its documentation. So it's not actually legal that they hide this. And then at the end, they told us, okay, it could be published, but exclusively at the exhibition. So I think the line continues a bit. So you can see that now it becomes kind of a straight line, because we really pushed into what they understand are their resources that they're usually not offering to artists. So we are kind of reaching the balance, because they are saying yes to what we are offering. And then actually, yeah, maybe Sylvia, if you go just one back, I'm concluding. Sorry, one back, not forward. Yeah. So I remember also, Gaia, but correct me, I think that you requested them because we saw the demand for this budgets was so high that Gaia told them, okay, but can you print them and renew them? So the institution actually printed the budget for us, and it was not going to our production cost. So that was also kind of using their resources, and then they printed it out.
They were printing the contracts. The contracts. And because the contracts basically were exhibited as a takeaway object, so people were able to take away and share. Sorry?
That was sneaky. People could take it with them. Like, it was only published at the exhibition, but people can take it also with them.
It was a takeaway object, yeah. And then they were printing the contracts when they were gone. So basically, they were helping us to kind of disseminate the struggle in a way.
So for now, this negotiation process ends, but it was continuously, like for each and every kind of part of the installation that we put there, it was many more like things that we negotiated. But I think that like this was the simplest way to show you the dynamics. And then at the end, you reach some kind of conclusion, because this has a time limit, the work with the biennial, and then you ask yourself, okay, what was the like kind of the point of it all? Because monetary, anyhow, we were not largely on any plus side. We gained much more than we were given at the beginning, also in the financial terms. But then we were also playing, in a sense, maybe you can go to the next one, Sylvia. Yeah, so you can see here how the budget was exhibited, and anybody could take it. And like the budget itself had this special non-financial part printed on not-with paper that actually included all the non-financial resources that both biennial gave us and that we actually provided to the biennial. So including all the friendships and each and every detail that was actually allowing for a cultural event of such scale to happen in Slovenia. So you can see how culture is actually supported by, definitely not by the Ministry of Culture completely, but by all the actors that love culture and wants it to happen, actually. And on the front side of this non-financial agreement, it's our like financial conclusion of the deal with them. And then we played with this idea, okay, we will give the biennial the 40% discount on our what we think our like services should cost. And then with this discount, we were also minus, I think, minus 2,000 euros. Like this was our financial kind of counting, and this was also printed in on the other side. So this was the information that we shared. But then again, if you go back now for 2 slides, Syria, sorry, it's a bit. Yeah, and one more. So, of course, if you get through this financial lens, you are kind of a loser. But we are absolutely not losers in this, because also we through the process, we actually established the method of how to deal with these highly extractive structures. And also it was interesting that you as an individual probably could not claim that much, but we as a collective like had a stronger kind of standpoint to claim for us. And then at the end, our surplus certainly was that we succeeded in claiming Krater as an art venue, and also developed material objects, photographies, art objects actually, that we could use later, reuse them and like sell them and offer them on different other exhibitions. But we also really developed these tactics in negotiation to support the collective livelihoods in the cases as such. And then we won actually the honorable mention from the biennial and also gained a lot of international media attention to speak about these problems. So we were completely transparent about what was not okay. So we got a good platform for sharing the process. And also kind of out of this biennial, local cultural scene or maybe art scene took us more seriously. So we got commissioned for participating in being like mentors in 2 other summer schools. And we got then also invited in other exhibitions. But also, I think we were discussing at the beginning with Sylvia, it was not only for us, it was actually like what the participants in the visitors of the biennial get. They got just like they're going there and seeing art objects in the museum usually, but we were engaging them, like we are inviting them to become critical thinkers actually. So through the events that we did at Krater and actually the topics that we used biennial as a platform to open with, which would actually otherwise they would not be present there if we haven't went through this process. So I think, yeah, that we were addressing these visitors as critical thinkers and as a potential kind of alliances. So this was also a very important part, and that we produced some kind of knowledge of Krater and knowledge about position of autonomous culture, but also we were instituting this kind of demand for reciprocity between institution and autonomous groups. And we were very vocal about it. So you can read like more of what we think was our surplus here. And I would just like to pass, if you can go, we also developed kind of formats. These photographies, yeah, the next one. So these photographies actually show what's sorry, Sylvia, the one where we are installing the 35th biennial on the fence. One back. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. So this is like the moment when we are transforming what is called the pending construction site in all the documents into the art venue. So This is a really like significant moment for us, and also that we are not importing Krater to the museum, but the Krater is operating site of culture in its very form. So we labeled it as such. And then the next one, we also hosted other artists at Krater. This was a beautiful, because these artists were alliances, and it was a beautiful collaboration because of claiming us that it's an art venue in itself. Next one. Yeah, and the different public events, and it was quite crowded Krater all the time. Next one. Next one. And but we also developed our own formats because we offered them these events that we do. So this was also kind of a possibility either to prolong the formats that we already have, or like to form the new ones. So here you can see us harvesting the Japanese knotweed. This was a collective action and the event that actually Biennial paid us to do. So this was kind of collecting Japanese knotweed in order to produce paper for the catalog of the Biennial. The next one. We also had one of the events was a cycling tour around the feral lands of Ljubljana. And it also like kind of helped us to develop this feral cartography of the city, that Krater is not the only site which characteristics of ferality, that there are many, and we went around and speak about them, about their present and what's meant for their future to become. So yeah, they're usually very invisible in the cities, and this was an act of like becoming aware of a different cartography of the city. Next one. Then we did one very important event, which was called the Feral Banquet, and it was a reciprocity kind of like installing this reciprocity thought to other directors of the cultural institutions, to the professors, to any stakeholder that could be actually interested in our work, because we were like, okay, if Krater, we are opening Krater as a public land and as an art venue, it should not be just the responsibility of the autonomous collective, but it should be also the responsibility of the directors of the public institutions and other agents that are working in the public good sphere. So we installed this nice food and fermented drinks from our that were made from our friends, and actually each desk, if you can go one further, has its own critical question, and the one person from Krater was mediating it. So this was also done in the biennial organization. So, and the next one. Yeah, so what also museum helped us, and this was kind of surplus, that they get some kind of responsibility. They instead of us, they actually negotiated with the municipality of Ljubljana that the Japanese knotweed in their mounds in front of the gallery would not be mowed during the during biennial. So we got agitators agitating for our artwork. And the thing here is that we wanted to show the work of nature as a construction work. So that's why we put these fences around, also as a signal that they do not mow this part during the biennial. And actually we were helped largely by the documents that were provided by the museum and the biennial to do this. The next one. Yeah, and this here you can see like the explanation of what this installation is. And the next one. And large part of this was actually what I said before, producing this visibility of other feral lands in the city. And we went around the city and took these guerrilla photographies where we actually on the gentrificated projects. And this is the art gallery in Ljubljana in which we exhibited. We projected what was there before. So this art gallery was a feral land before, but we also made an amazing photographies that we counted that we could actually sell as an artwork. This is how, yeah, you can go next. This is how it looked like, the guerrilla actions, and this is how they were exhibited in the art venue. So yeah, we hope to capitalize on their value as the art objects in the future. So in order to kind of support our basic functioning of the collective. And then the last gesture was that here you can see the Japanese note with the track that all the readers of the biennial had. We were asked to write the text for the reader, like in the same time when we were finishing the production of the, like in the last 2 weeks of the production of works for the biennial, when we had kind of several installations in different museums and also several events at Krater, and it was completely impossible to deliver the text in the same time. So what we did at the end, editors were silent, so they were like, yeah, we want really to have you, but then they were not like waiting for us. And at the end, we wrote our text, and then we stamped all, when they were printed, we stamped all the readers with our like link to our text. And what's written there, it's Krater scan to occupy. So actually that we are present there, and it is in terms of, we called all these installations the feral occupation. So it was the feral occupation of the budget at first, and then feral occupation of the city with these projections, feral occupation of reader at the end. So this is like maybe those who are more skilled in community economies categories and theories would know how to say better how this exact reflect back to community economy. But it was based very much into this thinking of reciprocity and how to install oneself in the conditions that are not favorable. Yeah. So now I will end.
Thank you so much, Dani.